You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry ChillyBoy Chilson, and today I am here to rank the comic book movies released in 2023 from worst to best. And I thought this year, why not rank the comic book movies live with you all? This is always a fun subject to talk to other people about. These are movies most people have seen, whether in theaters, streaming, whatever the case might be. So it's like a nice interactive subgenre, if you will. So today we're here to rank all of the comic book releases, whether it's from Marvel, from DC, from Sony, wherever they came from. So, thank you if you are here joining me on this post Christmas day. I believe it's Boxing Day abroad. Hope everyone had a great Christmas if you choose to celebrate, a great holiday of any other sort if that is your culture as well. So, yay, here we are. And I just wanted to let you all know that we have 10 movies here today to rank. So, overall, 10 films ended up making my ranking list. There were a couple of films that I was close. I didn't know if I wanted to put them in or not put them in. Like my beloved Nimona, I know is based off of a graphic novel, but I think it's just a standalone graphic novel rather than a comic book series. So ultimately I chose not to include something like Nimona, so that won't be here. Um, but all the other major ones will be. Now I know also Rebel Moon, I think it's based off of like a novel, or is it just getting a novelization? I'm actually not sure, but that's not here either. Whatever the case might be, that one is also not around. So we are left with the 10 both live action and animation here for the ranking. I know that you all won't agree with all of my rankings. Just remember, this is only my personal opinion. Everybody's opinions are valid. Everybody's opinions will vary. And I look forward to seeing everyone else's ranking of the comic book films 2023, either in the chat if any folks do join in, or in the comment section down below if you are catching this on replay. So, without further ado, I think it's time we get into this ranking, don't you? Well, kicking us off at number 10, my least favorite comic book movie of 2023, without a doubt, is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Yeah, this was a no-brainer for me personally. I didn't care for this film on almost any level, to be honest. It wasn't as funny or entertaining as the first two Aquaman films were. Kang as a villain was greatly underwritten. The performance by the person we no longer speak about and that is no longer in the MCU was really kind of the saving grace for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and that didn't really help much. The plot was bland. We went into the quantum realm, and for what? At the end of the day, what was the reason? Um, so yeah, just really almost nothing about this worked. It was hideous. The green screen, blue screen, Marvel's specialty of putting it all in VFX did not work. The VFX actually just looked wretched across the board for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. By the end of it, it felt like there were no stakes to be had either. So, uh, easily, easily my least favorite comic book film of the year. A lot of these others have problems as well. Box office wise, this is probably the worst year for comic book movies in a very, very long time, we'll say that. But quality wise, we had some great ones. And then we had Quantumania. So at number 10, Quantumania. So number 8 and number 9 were very close for me. I actually flip flopped them back and forth multiple times, trying to decide which one I liked better, marginally liked better, because neither of these films I find to be good. It's just which kind of bad did I prefer? So at number 9, what I ultimately decided was Aquaman and the Lost City. Yeah. I'm kind of shocked that Aquaman 2 is down here at number 9, but I did not like this, y'all. I just found it to be pretty much a slog. It lost the charm of the first film in most every fashion, and I don't even think Jason Momoa was as good as Arthur here in the second film either. Diminician, hello. Thanks so much for stopping in. We're ranking comic book movies today, sir. But Momoa, I didn't like how his character really regressed in this movie compared to what he was like in previous iterations of the character. I thought the VFX were very spotty, though I have to say, if you watched my review, I think that the actual prosthetic work and the makeup team amazing in this film. It's just the VFX, they don't look great. And that water hair, whoo, wretched. Mira had a decent little role here, but Amber Heard continues to unfortunately be not a great actress. So that hurt. Nicole Kidman sidelined. And yes, Dad Arthur, Dad Aquaman, not for me. Why do we need that, to be honest? The saving grace of this film was the two here in this picture, the brotherly connection, the idea of family by and large, all of that, blah, blah, blah. That kind of was the saving grace in the third act. But otherwise, the jokes fell flat. The storyline was bland. It just was kind of, it was a chore to get through, and it's not very long. And it felt way too long and difficult to get to the end. So Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom comes in just above Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania at number 9. Hello, G. Colby. Thanks for stopping in. We're already up to number 8, folks. And as I just said, number 8 barely beats out number 9. Honestly, 8 and 9 are kind of tied for 9. Not 8. They're tied for 9th because I didn't like either one of them. But I thought about it and I thought, what kind of bad did I prefer? What goods outweighed the other one's goods, basically? And that left me with number 9 or number 8, The Flash. Now, if you had asked me going into Aquaman 2, there's no way I would have thought I would have liked The Flash more. But after sitting on it and thinking some more, I just had there were more fun moments in The Flash for me, to be honest. That's what it comes down to. Everything with Michael Keaton's Batman was great. Everything with Callie's Supergirl was a lot of fun. There were some fun action set pieces. And I have to admit, the scene at the end with his mom was the emotional payoff worked. It really kind of rang true there. Everything else, complete disaster. I talked about the CGI in both Aquaman and Ant-Man. The Flash is hideous in a way that Aquaman could never. Um, that third act specifically of The Flash is some of the ugliest comic book anything I've ever seen. It might be some of the ugliest thing on film I've ever seen. I thought that third act of The Flash was a horrendous assault on eyeballs and a bit on morality with, bringing back dead folks for their montage. It was horrible. The other terror running around DC over the past few years in comic books Ezra Miller, I found him very annoying in this film. That alternate Barry Allen, I was like, somebody punch him and put some tape over his mouth or something. I can't stand him. That goofy run continues to be horrible. The ripoff of the Quicksilver X-Men opening where they were like throwing the babies out of the window and stuff, putting them in microwaves and everything was weird and uncanny. The shoehorn stuff, everything about The Flash just didn't work. What put this above Aquaman at the end of the day really was Michael Keaton's Batman was awesome and everything to do with that. And Supergirl, also awesome, though she was highly underutilized. So, yeah, I'm really shocked actually. In a year, that's the kind of year we got, y'all. The Flash is not last place on this list, which actually seems insane to me. We were deceived to think they would fix the VFX from the early screenings. They sure did. They were pulling people out. They're like, yeah, it's not done yet. Little did you know it was George Clooney. That's what you were coming back to the movie theater for later. George Clooney. Also, a completely baffling message. A complete weird turn. Like, we end where we begin. The movie ends up being completely meaningless. And we get George Clooney at the end. Young Barry Allen's laugh sounds like the surfer dude from SpongeBob after Experience High Tide. And they gave us, like little naked Barry Allen, which if Ezra wasn't such a terror to society, maybe we could have had fun with, but no. And yeah, well, they sure wanted it. They sure wanted it to be that, but it was no way home, that's for sure. So yeah, and I have to say, it's a decent jump now. These three really I just found to be pretty much just in the bad pile with almost no redeeming factors. Actually, let me not say that because number 7 is not that high of a jump over these three. So let me hold that off. Between 7 and 6 is where we get a jump. But at number 7, I know some people are probably going to be mad. They're going to think I'm, bullying and harping on a specific studio because I have 3 of their movies in a row. But look, y'all, or 3 of their, 3 of their movies in a row, but they're just not good. Number 7, we have Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Much like Aquaman, I was really anticipating, really hoping to have a blast with a sequel to Shazam because I love the first Shazam film. I think the first Shazam is awesome and a ton of fun. I don't know what happened here in this sequel. Listen, this is the first one where I would say the CG in this, The Flash, is a step above the 3 films beneath it. That dragon, actually, as goofy as it is in execution, the dragon looked good from a CGI perspective. The storyline is just kind of bland. The family aspect didn't really work here. They kind of dropped all of the heart that made the first Flash film work and be fun. The Wonder Woman cameo was so shoehorned in. So shoehorned in and ridiculous. Let me see. Oh, okay. Look, I respect it mostly because of Ezra's performance and playing 2 versions of Barry. Yeah. I think his performance as the older Barry was fine. I could not stand that younger Barry Allen. I thought he was so annoying. I'm sorry. But Zachary Levi, this film feels like he didn't age at all, while Asher Angel definitely aged. So you're like, oh, are these 2 people the same anymore? Because in the first film, Zachary just kind of felt like the superheroed up version of a kid. This version, he's supposed to be a superheroed up version of like an 18-year-old, and he still feels like a 10-year-old. So there was a big disconnect. All of the side family members really get sidelined. Again, Jack Dylan Grazer is the highlight. I thought he was fantastic. I actually really like Rachel Zegler in this film as well. I think she's very good. Lucy Liu, girl, I'm sorry they gave you absolutely nothing to do. Helen Mirren gave you like nothing to do. That final action set piece, whatever. The jokes are mostly missed, but at least more jokes land here for me than certainly The Flash. I'm sorry, I did not think The Flash was funny at all, and they were shoehorning jokes in left, right, and center. I did not think Aquaman was funny. I chuckled twice, three times maybe, and I did not think Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was very funny at all either. So this at least had some jokes land for me. But yeah, we need more of the rest of the family. Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, between The Flash and this, I was shook, y'all. I was just waiting in that movie theater in Aquaman for Gal to pop up as Wonder Woman. I was ready for that cello to just rip through in Aquaman. I was like peeking around corners waiting for her ass to pop out. But she didn't, even though they had like told us she did. Jason Momoa like revealed she was bouncing around from set to set or something. It basically lacks what made the first Shazam so fun and heartwarming. It became bigger, but that doesn't mean better. I agree fully, G. Colby. It still is okay. It has its moments, but as you said, Zachary Levi really went off the deep end. I do know he lost his father last year, so part of me wanted to give him grace. As he lost his mind as well, but it's too much now, Zachary. Time to move on, sir. Time to move on. As you saw, nobody liked this movie anyway, so it's okay to continue. I actually think I prefer the costumes in the second Shazam better. They're not as poofed out. I like the bright colors of the first one, but it was a little, it was a little bit over the top maybe. So yeah, I think I like the second movie just a tad more with the costumes, but not by much. I think they're pretty even. But oh, Fernando, thank you so much for stopping in. I appreciate it. Hot take, but I did not like the coming out scene. Um, well, for one, it was just a throwaway. That's the problem. Is they really I don't know. It wasn't like intrinsic to his character. There was nothing there for that scene. And that's a problem is when movies just kind of like shove in this random coming out scene. I also don't really love. I know that movies and people think that maybe this is a good thing. For me personally, I don't love when the response, particularly in films or TV or whatever, is yeah, we know type of attitude to people. Coming out is obviously a very hard thing for a lot of people, and to be met with that kind of yeah, duh response. I don't know. It's a little bit tactless, particularly when it's written not by a queer person. You're like, oh, okay, well, sir, please. And that's kind of what they did in this. They're like, oh, okay, cool. Anyway, so yeah, no, we didn't need the coming out scene, and I don't. I agree. To be honest, I don't think it was particularly handled all that well. So, Shazam: Fury of the Gods. It's just there. I mean, it's not good. So, as I said, it's really these bottom four are the ones that I would rank in bad territory. They're not good. They have redeeming factors to them in very small doses. The doses get smaller as we go down. But if you will, the bad tier for me of comic book films in 2023, number 10, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Number 9, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Number 8, The Flash. And number 7, Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Now we're going to move into good, fun territory. That's what we'll say. I had a good time with the next two. I'm going to put them in their own little category of fun. I don't know that they are great per se. I don't even know that they are good films. They have their problems, but I had a lot of fun watching these next two films on the list. And we continue with another DC film. So, sorry, DC fans, I guess. I have Merry Little Batman. So, this was the animated film that was on Prime Video that I just watched actually on Christmas itself. It's fun. It's a cute little just holiday special. It definitely caters toward much smaller children, and a lot of the humor does. Obviously, we have a little kid, a little boy as our protagonist, Damian Wayne. My biggest problem here is just kind of the character animation style. I know this like ugly character animation is what's it, particularly for like TV shows and stuff for kids. But oh, I can't stand it with those ugly like the noses and like the chins and all that. Ugh, I don't know. Can we go back to cute animation? Is that too much to ask? I also think we could have had a little bit more Bruce Wayne himself in this, along with Damian. But the lessons were cute. I liked the ideas about what Christmas really is and spending the holidays with loved ones, what a hero really is. It was fun with, Joker and Poison Ivy specifically, I thought were a lot of fun. So I don't have too much to say about Merry Little Batman. I think it's a perfectly fine, fun holiday special. And that was basically it. I had a nice time watching it. All right. So, moving right along from Merry Little Batman, at number 5. I don't know if this is going to be a hot take or not, because I know some people really hated this movie. Other people loved it, and I had a good time with it. That's why it's falling under the fun tier. But at number 5, I have The Marvels. Now, look, some of that script is a mess. Okay. And the villain, well, it's pretty much standard issue, phase 2, throwaway, does nothing kind of bad villain. Other than that, I thought The Marvels was a lot of fun. I had a good time watching this in the movie theater. I think our 3 leads right here have great chemistry. Brie Larson, Tiana Taylor, and Iman are delightful together. Obviously, Kamala Khan kind of stole the show. She was a lot of fun, a really fun character. And watching her interact with Captain Marvel was a lot of fun to me. I know some people were like, oh, it's overkill. Are, are you serious? If I was her, yeah, I probably would have been fanning out for the most part too. But what I really liked with Captain Marvel and that interaction was that Carol Danvers, through really her interactions with Ms. Marvel, kind of has to face up to what she's done. And I liked watching her progress in this film, as she can't just punch her way out of everything. And that's really what her big takeaway was on this one. So this was fun. I liked the singing planet. I know a lot of people did not like that singing planet. I thought it was fun. I also loved the cat thing at the end of the movie. With the music choice, I thought it was hilarious, really campy, and a good time. Most of the visual effects here look okay, but I really think, oh yeah, my bad. Tiana Taylor had another fabulous performance, but this is Tiana Paris. My bad, girl. Um, all these up and coming Tianas right now, but I don't like the flying effect. Like whenever they have Captain Marvel like flying like this and they have her head really close to the camera, I think it looks terrible. That's like my main gripe with the visual effects in pretty much any of Captain Marvel's appearances, but once again here in this. But the biggest problem is just the villain is terrible. Some of the side quests are like okay, whatever, but I don't know. I had fun. I basically agree with this, G. Colby. If Quantumania was the bad and Guardians 3 was the good, the Marvels was just average. It falls right in the middle of those two. In a year that we got Quantumania, if you think the Marvels is worse than that, I don't know. I've seen some people say it is worse than that, and I don't know how you can say that. Yeah. I think this story is the script is gonna, by and large, where things really fall apart. But I can certainly agree that I understand most of the I understand most of the legitimate criticisms, but I don't know. Overall, they just didn't bother me that much. So I had fun with Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel 2, The Marvels. I'll get to the real title at some point. Listen, I'm ready. I am ready. And yeah, well, that was, well, I agree, Fernando. People were too harsh on this movie. The box office, look, y'all tried to rip this movie's box office down, and it did miles better than Aquaman 2, and they're both coming off of billion-dollar movies. They're both sequels to billion-dollar films. So, mm, mm, mm. And yes, oh god, well, the way the media handled Nia DaCosta was absolutely shameful, just like the way the media handled Brie Larson after the first film was absolutely shameful. The way that they have really just treated women has been shameful, and particularly black women specifically has been horrible. So oh well, I hope that Nia she'll land back on her feet. I hope this isn't the last we see of these characters. I thought the post credit was awesome. As an X-Men fan, it got me hyped. So yeah. The end scene of the movie also, I guess, is fun. We'll see. But I'm less excited about that than I was the post credit. I'ma just be real. Okay, so now, next up, I have my number 4 is going to be on its own little island because I think it's definitely a step up from the Marvels and it's miles better than, the bad tier, but it's definitely not as good as my top 3. So it sits on an island on its own where I just think it's a very good film. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a good film across the board, and I connected to it obviously on a personal level for many reasons. I wish it did better at the box office. But this was DC's shining beacon of 2023, their saving grace of the year. And as James Gunn has put it, while this movie is not the first movie in the DCU, this is the first character coming over. I don't know. Does anyone know at this point? But you probably have guessed it. At number 4, I have Blue Beetle. I really had a blast with Blue Beetle. I loved Jaime. I thought he was a great lead character. I'm a sucker for a good origin story, and this gave me that good, fun origin to begin with. I loved our supporting cast, and particularly, I really loved one, how much it leaned into Latino culture, obviously being Latino myself, and it relied so heavily on family and the family unit having to come together was a lot of fun. Obviously, grandma, the sister, really all of his family. George Lopez was a lot of fun. The VFX in this looked really good compared to everything else I've talked about so far. I thought this was some of the best VFX. The original score, the soundtrack, amazing. I am obsessed. I've been obsessed since San Diego Comic-Con with Blue Beetle's theme song. It's so freaking cool. I really just had a blast with Blue Beetle. G. Colby says, I think Captain Marvel might be back as a supporting character, maybe be Miss Marvel's mentor. A lot of people are saying she should have been the leader here in this phase, and they just have really dropped the ball on identifying a new leader. And so we've been a little bit aimless, and Captain Marvel hasn't really had much to do, so she's just kind of been squandering. But yeah, we'll see how Blue Beetle works as we move forward. Obviously, the box office was quite disappointing. I did love to see that a lot of people watched it on Max at least. And kind of caught on board. I wish y'all would have watched it when it was in movie theaters, but at least they watched it on Max and were like, oh, this is actually good. Yes, that's what we've been screaming at you for the past months. It's good, y'all. Hey, Dwayne, thanks for dropping in. Yes, I agree. The one saving grace for DC in 2023. Blue Beetle was decent. Funny enough, it reminded me of Ms. Marvel, and that while the superhero stuff is nothing special, the family aspect is great and so charming. Definitely the best DC movie this year. I mean, does anybody? I mean, Dwayne might disagree with that old Aquaman. I don't know, but does anyone think that Blue Beetle was not the best thing DC put out this year? Let's see what Fernando. I came to the US from Mexico when I was 7 years old and grew up reading comic books as a way to learn English. Blue Beetle was the first time I ever saw a Mexican in comics. I waited 15 years for this. Oh, I love that. I love it so much. That's why I wanted this movie to succeed so bad. It was like our first bit of leading the superhero film in a big way like this, and so I'm sad it did not perform great at the box office, but I'm really glad that the movie itself felt authentic to our culture in so many ways, and hopefully Blue Beetle comes back in a meaningful way. I don't know, James Gunn, I'm really nervous with what he's doing. I know a lot of people are excited for it, but we'll see. He got me scared. Let me do a little recap now before we get into our top three for Dwayne here, since he just came in. My bad tier for the year, at number 10, we had Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. At number 9, I had Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. At number 8, I had The Flash. At number 7, I had Shazam! Fury of the Gods. At number 6, into the fun tier, we had Merry Little Batman. At number 5, we had The Marvels. And here on its own, in the good tier, we have Blue Beetle, representing for Latinos, up at number 4. Hey! Yes, he will be back. So we'll see what happens here. Oop! Listen, Dwayne, I'm sorry. Aquaman 2 was not it for me. I don't know what was going on in that Aquaman 2. That was not the business. Okay, sir? Aquaman 2. God, poor Yaya. They just said, how can we waste Yaya Abdul Mateen in 2 back-to-back movies, actually? What can we do to waste his ass over and over again every time he's on the screen? Ugh. All right, well, we're up to the top 3. Honestly, look, I mean, I guess there's probably some DC fans that might have something different because, well, Blue Beetle was my top DC movie and it's at number 4. So maybe some DC fans might put something up here. I know The Flash did have a lot of defenders. Maybe a couple of like the Marvel's diehards, but y'all, this top 3 I feel like is pretty universal, right? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong, but let's dive in. It's just going to be the order that might be a little controversial. So, the top 3 I all loved. All 3 of them are actually probably going to be appearing in some way or another on my best movies of 2023 list. I don't think I'm doing a top 10. I think I have to expand it, y'all, because 2023 for me was a pretty great year for film, but that'll be coming right after New Year. And all 3 of these films are going to make at least an appearance, whether it's an honorable mention or a spot on the list proper. I thought they were all fantastic. But at number 3, I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So my top film from the MCU here at number 3. So I really enjoyed most everything about the film by and large. I think it's a very good film that has a wonderful anti animal testing message that me as a vegan, obviously I loved. I loved Groot's storyline throughout. I actually loved the entire storyline of this team and where we end up with them by the end. And obviously, Dog Days Are Over, just what a final scene. Probably the best final scene in a comic book movie this year. It was just perfect. It was perfect. The only things that I have a little bit of problem with, I think some of the pacing is clunky through the middle of this film. Some side questy stuff, you're kind of like, oh, okay, James Gunn. So not all of that worked for me, but by and large, the heart of this film is what really pulls through. The villain, the performance is able to save us from an okay kind of plot. His plan was very questionable. The villain on paper was questionable, but man, that performance was so damn good that it made you forget about the questionable plots. Really, the star of the show here was Rocket Raccoon, and he was more than up for that task. Guardians 3 was good, but didn't live up to expectations to who was going to die. I will say, yeah. Um, Nobody really died in this film. I guess the emotions really hit home when they all just kind of say goodbye. Like, it wasn't a death ending, it was just more of this team is done. This team is over. James Gunn is moving on now. And we kind of have to move on too. Who knows how we're going to see these characters moving forward? Obviously, we end with a different Guardians team. Are we going to really see them moving forward? Peter Quill is supposedly returning. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. I mean, really, we talk about the fact that DC is in huge limbo land right now. Obviously, with the Kang stuff happening this year and the box office performances of two or three of their films this year with Quantumania and the Marvels, Marvel is also very much like in shambles right now. I mean, it's not a pretty situation over at Marvel either. They need to figure some stuff out, something serious. And next year we only have Deadpool 3. And we'll see what happens outside of that. All right. G. Colby says Guardians 3 is my number 2 CBM this year and one of my favorite movies of the year. I'm not as hard on the post Infinity Saga as most, but this is the best post Endgame movie. Oh wow, best post Endgame for you, huh? It's not quite that high for me. I actually I low key love a few post Endgame movies, so it's not quite the best one for me personally, but it did exactly what it needed to do. It was the perfect send off for the Guardians of the Galaxy characters in a really significant way. And that emotion is what really just kind of sealed it for me as being so impactful and such a good film. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Guardians moving forward. We'll see what happens with James Gunn. But a really emotional film. Yeah, I mean, bloop. Yeah, I mean, I love No Way. I'll put No Way Home above this personally, even with that kind of dark third act, because I think there's some. Well, all of them have script issues, but I do think there are some script issues when it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And some of the humor, I'm like a little bit, okay, James Gunn. Adam Warlock, a little bit like, okay, James Gunn, but. Most things work for me in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and that's why it's up here at number 3. All right. So marching right along at number 2, really, if you're following along, there's only 2 movies left. You'll probably guess which one is number 1 at this point. So let's just jump right into that number 2 spot then, shall we? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is my number 2. What can I say? Right now, for me, the animated films are just hitting it when it comes to the theatrical releases of comic book movies. I adored TMNT Mutant Mayhem. The animation style was so cool, amazing. I loved the art direction across the board in this one. I loved that the turtles were actually teenagers. They felt like teenagers in this film. I loved their bond as brothers here. They felt like a genuine family in this film. Really, everything that the Bay movies struggled to get right with the turtles, this movie remedied that and really just delivered on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles aspect of it. The action was so much fun. The comedy, oh, off the charts. This was actually one of the funniest movies for me of all year, with an amazing villain voice performance from Ice Cube, who has some of the best line readings in any animated film of 2023. Look, Ice Cube was just playing himself, and I was here for it because it delivered. The story was a lot of fun, and Well, yes, 100%. The best comic book movie that Paul Rudd was in, Mondo Gecko, is a legend. Agreed. Easily Paul Rudd's best comic book movie this year. I thought April O'Neil was a lot of fun. The story was a blast. Just really, I mean, I think some of the humor doesn't work. Like sometimes that humor is a little bit maybe too modern, a little bit too cool for school. And like I said with Batman, A Merry Little Batman, this film also has the problem of the art style being amazing, but sometimes just the gross looking animation I'm not the biggest fan of. And this film definitely dives into those like nasty little animated things. But also the I don't know how I feel about the final thing at the end that they have to fight, being this just big mutant animal thing. It was very weird. It was a strange choice. I overall like it, but it's also just like, what the hell am I even looking at right now? But yeah, this is just a blast. The soundtrack is a bop. The references maybe are a little bit much, but I don't know. I loved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Well, yeah. See, all of our characters were great. It was a good time. I don't know. Some people listen, Dwayne is saying we forgot to have fun if we're not having fun with Aquaman 2. I don't know what all that's about because they sucked the fun out of that sucker for me. I think if you were not jamming to TMNT Mutant Mayhem, you truly have forgotten how to have fun. You forgot who the turtles are at their core, that they are teens. The baby turtles were so cute. If you can't have fun with Mutant Mayhem, one, the turtles probably aren't for you, truly. But two, have some fun, lighten up. This was just such a good time, y'all. No, listen. If Wish gets nominated over this at the Oscars, we're rioting. Period. Okay, we will be rioting. Wish. I'm so nervous for animation at the Oscars this year, y'all. I am so nervous with that one because I wasn't the biggest fan of Elemental. So if for me personally, if I were to give my perfect animation bracket would be Across the Spider-Verse, TMNT Mutant Mayhem, The Boy and the Heron, Nimona, and Suzume. Now I know Suzume, it got in randomly for one at the Globes, right? But I don't think Suzume's getting in. And just plug Elemental in there because I know they're gonna give it to Elemental. If Nimona and or TMNT Mutant Mayhem get left off for Wish, this is an advertisement, actually, a segue advertisement. Make sure you're tuning in when I do my live reaction to the nomination reactions. When they announce those live nominations early in the morning, there may be a rage. So tune in. Oh, welcome, Rachel. Welcome. Uh-oh. Rachel's one of the ones that I addressed earlier. We all have our opinions, Rachel. We all have our opinions. I don't know how you found this worse than Quantumania, but if you did, good on you. I don't know how you found it worse than really Aquaman 2 either, but if you did, good on you, I guess. But and I agree. No diggity. Ooh! And not only that, this is the perfect case of having a fire soundtrack and knowing just when to drop it. That use of no diggity, oh, that's cinema. The use of no diggity, cinema. Exactly. Lord. All right. Well, it's probably no shock to anyone. It's probably going to be number one on most people's comic book movies of the year list. It's probably going to be a lot of people's number one movie of the year, period. Probably a lot of people's number one animated movie of the year, period. One of the best movies of 2023, an artistic achievement. And for me, definitively the best comic book movie of 2023 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Um, yeah, I mean, was there another option? uh, TMNT, got reasonably close. Guardians on the Marvel front, had its positives, but just as a full film, I know a lot of people don't view it as a full movie because it ends on that cliffhanger for part one. For me, I view it as a full arc for Gwen, and thus it's a full film. It has a full arc for one of our two lead characters. So while Miles's story is still kind of up in limbo, Gwen goes through a full character arc in this film that I think is actually fantastic. Um, the animation is once again just next level, which we learned the animators were working overtime for not great pay or something. I don't know. Lord and Miller, pay your animation people, please, and give them good working conditions, we beg of you. But listen, it paid off in the end because the animation looks absolutely fantastic, but right on par with that first film. The soundtrack, once again, the original score in this movie is out of this world amazing. One of my favorite original scores of 2023. The original music is also fantastic, and the character work with Miles I really enjoyed. I liked his progression as well as Gwen Stacy's here. The new characters were amazing. Miguel O'Hara, I love a complicated antagonist. He's not really a villain in this movie, but he is our antagonist when all is said and done. And I thought he was fantastic here. And Oscar Isaac gives an amazing performance. Low key, I'm kind of a Miguel O'Hara stan. I don't know why the animators, well, I do know why, because look at Oscar Isaac. Hey, but they didn't have to give him all that booty in the back, but they did for us. I loved all of their arcs. Across the Spider-Verse is number one. It's going to be painful, but take your time with Beyond the Spider-Verse. I completely agree. They again, take your time, please. Fernando says, I really love this movie and glad it made so many Afro Latinos feel seen, like Jennifer Lopez would say. Mi gente Latino, yes, I agree. I mean, it just works across the board. I think maybe the ending is a negative for some folks. I don't know. I really, there's very little fault I find personally with Across the Spider-Verse. I saw it 4 times in the movie theaters, including my final time getting to see it was in a theater at Denver Film Festival, where Lord and Miller and the producers and the lead animator were all in attendance speaking on the film. And each time I just find more things to just like pick up and love about this film, about this narrative. I love its depiction of family, this blended, beautiful family. As you said, the Afro-Latino aspect of it is just gorgeous. The voice cast up and down, literally everybody in this voice cast is amazing. Daniel Kaluuya, obviously, as Spider-Punk, everybody's been singing his praises because he deserves it. This did everything that the rest of the movies, particularly on the bottom half of this list, just failed to do. I don't know. I loved it. It's funny because there's been so many MCU actors in both. I mean, this is very true. Haley Steinfeld, Brian Tyree Henry, Mahershala Ali, Daniel Kaluuya, Oscar Isaac, Catherine Hahn. I mean, they're all here, baby. Let's get Issa Rae on screen next. How about that? I don't know, Rachel. I don't know if I don't know if Quantumania's plot was all that coherent either. Any plot that ends in ants going off to do their own civilization and coming back, and then that ending, maybe the plot points were there, but I don't know. That the script itself on Guardians, I mean not Guardians, on Quantumania was not good. Guardians 3 Into Spider-Verse shows that superhero fatigue don't exist. It's just people want some new for the genre to go in, to be creative, don't rely too much on the tropes. I think that's it. And really this year, that's why I think animation actually is just doing the best right now. Obviously, my top two, I have Spider-Verse and I have Mutant Mayhem, because they're able to really explore the genre in ways that live action continues to try to do, but really fails to be able to capitalize on. And you see all of these visual effects in Quantumania, in Aquaman, in The Flash, in all of these movies where the visual effects, they have to rely on them so heavy to try to create these verses and all these things, where animation can bring those to life in such a spectacular way as we see here. This is an artistic achievement where none of the live action movies in 2023 can say that they were an artistic achievement. Even Guardians 3, which, got favorable reviews, did great at the box office, emotionally hit so hard on an artistic looking level. I mean, this and TMNT are just on a different level from anything they were able to accomplish in live action this year. This hit on all of the emotional beats that we got in the best of the live action versions. And so, DC actually has been doing a much better job over the past, I would say, decade. They've waned a little bit. Some of these recent DC straight to DVD movies have not been as great, but they've been doing a great job building their animated universe really well on that side of things. And so honestly, it's kind of like, once again, we're screaming it from the rooftops. Animation is cinema. Animation is a storytelling device that can do things live action can't. And I think the comic book genre in 2023 was the perfect example of that. If studios and audiences would just see animation on the same level that they see live action, I think it opens the door to such huge possibilities that we're seeing realized. And I think that's just beautiful. So that's my animation rant. Animation deserves more respect, obviously. Oh, yeah. Y'all, we thought 2023 was bad for comic book movies. Oh, 2024. We got Deadpool 3, which I'm hopeful for, but oh my, everything else is. I'm worried 2024 is going to one up 2023. Probably at the box office. Madam Web is right around the corner, and yeah, it looks terrible. I saw that trailer in the theater twice now because I didn't watch it when it debuted, and I don't know what the hell's going on, to be honest, but we got that. I don't know, the SPMCU, whatever the hell, the Spunk CU. um, Packety and Sony, we're tired. We're tired of this mess. But I don't know, 2023 was a rough year in comic book movies. But still, even in a rough year, as you saw, my top 6, I had fun with all of them in one way or another. And I had good aspects to many of my bottom 4. Oh gosh. Well, at least look, me and Rachel are not agreeing on this Quantumania versus the Marvels. Well, because me and Rachel don't agree on the Marvels. Me and Rachel do agree, though, on Sydney Sweeney not being good in Anyone But You. That much Rachel and I agree on. Sorry, girl. Yeah, well, I don't know about wasting Sydney Sweeney. If they give her too much screen time, I'm gonna need her to do a little bit more acting than she did in Anyone But You. I'm just saying, sorry, Sydney fans, but I'm gonna need more than 3 faces, 3 different expressions in Madam Web. I'm more worried they're gonna race my girl Dakota Johnson. But look, Dakota, she came from a rough beginnings too. I have not seen White Lotus or Euphoria, so I'll take your word. I've seen the clip of her crying and like yelling in Euphoria, and that's more expression than she gave in anything in Anyone But You, y'all. So we'll see. Deadpool 2, I hope so as well. Ryan Reynolds with the pansexuality. Ryan Reynolds is very clearly up for it. And oh God, but we're going from Fox to Disney. So I wouldn't hold your breath, Fernando. I really wouldn't. I mean, he's been trying to hook up with, look, that'll be, what a shame. He's been like desperate to hook up with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine for like a decade now. And he's finally going to be in the same movie with him. And they're probably not going to do anything with that. Joker 2 might be fine, but Sony's going to ruin it for everybody. Look, Joker 2, I mean, look, if anything, here's my thing for Joker 2 is I think it's going to be interesting. It's a musical. It's starring Lady Gaga. It's going to be probably batshit crazy. And look, I'm here for that. I'll prefer Wild to honestly what the first Joker did, and certainly compared to Aquaman 2, Quantumania, The Flash, Shazam 2, I'll prefer way out there Wild for the Joker 2 to any of that. So let Lady Gaga bring the same energy she brought to House of Gucci to the set of Joker 2. Please, I am begging. Let Gaga just go there. Go full ham like I know she's begging to do as Harley Quinn. Give us some fun musical numbers. And let Joaquin Phoenix go wild too. We know Joaquin likes to be out there and wild. So if Joker 2 just throws caution to the wind and goes absolutely nuts like I know it can do, I'm excited. Okay, so I have hope. I have hope that Joker 2 is going to be fun. Oh, Rachel says she's hyped. Look, Rachel is a musical girly, and she going to be there for a musical. Lady Gaga's bisexual, just like Harley Quinn, so at least the casting is accurate. And look, another character, y'all. We got a lot of like bi and pan and queer kings and queens running around these comic books now. Margot Robbie and everyone have been begging. Let's talk about it actually, all across the board. Margot Robbie has been begging for the storyline, again, animation coming through, that they gave on the Harley Quinn animated series, to have Harley hook up with Poison Ivy. Because guess what? If you don't know, her relationship with Poison Ivy, just by and large, is a lot more like non-toxic and stable than her relationship with Joker. So Margot has been down for it. I know Lady Gaga would be hella down for some bisexuality to her Harley Quinn in that movie. And then, speaking of the Marvels, they know we have been begging. Tyler and I actually were at a Comic-Con where both Brie Larson and Tessa Thompson were in attendance. They know since before that, years before that, since Captain Marvel first was introduced, we've been begging for Valkyrie and Carol Danvers. Begging them. And both actresses have been 100% fully on board for it. Like, they were talking about it at this Comic-Con in 2019. We were sitting there. The whole crowd went wild when they started talking about it. For them to give us that little bit in the Marvels. Marvel, look at me. If y'all don't stop playing, you know damn well Carol Danvers and Valkyrie are a couple. I don't want to hear past, so I'm glad they cut that line that made it like they were a couple at one point, but no, they're still a couple. In my head, they're still a couple, but I mean, I guess at least you just teased us again is what really happened. Taylor Swift. Y'all, here's the other thing. If Taylor Swift pops up on my screen in Deadpool 3 as Dazzler, I'm going to be real annoyed. Okay? this is what I'm hoping, is that Taylor was just kind of around because she's friends with them or whatever. Don't make her Dazzler. Taylor is not a good fit for Dazzler just because she's blonde and a singer. Get out of here. Oh, well. We all knew that little, that little interaction between the two of them. Now we just need it to come full, like, to the full forefront, you know? But comic book movies, oh no. Well, okay, this is what I wanted. Look, this, that would actually be the funniest thing Deadpool 3 could do, is if Taylor Swift is in the movie, not Dazzler, but just in the movie somewhere else, and she just dies in the same way she died in Amsterdam. That would be the funniest ish and most meta thing Deadpool 3 could do. And I think we would all live. Maybe she could even be wearing a Travis Kelsey jersey when she gets pushed in front of the car like that, you know? At this point, the Chiefs fans themselves are ready to push her in front in front of the car. Look, we're not going to turn this into a full-on Taylor Swift. But put her in the Kelsey jersey and have a Chiefs fan push her in front of the car. It might even be Patrick Mahomes himself. A Muppet Mahomes pushes Taylor Swift. Listen, I know the movie's about to come out, but let me add a scene to your film, Ryan. Let me add. I got what you need, but oh, I'm scared for 2024, y'all. I think that us comic book fans, we're in the trenches now. The genre's hurting. This hurting a little bit right now. We're in the trenches. But I hope, look, if one thing has shown us anything, I brought it up. It was number 6 here with Merry Little Batman coming on Prime as this cute animated standalone. And then last year, Marvel with the MCU gave us the Werewolf by Night standalone. They've even done, like the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. I wish that they would lean into that, because they've all been good. Like, those little specials are a lot of fun. We don't have to tie them in to all of these big extra things. I adored Werewolf by Night last year. I had fun with Merry Little Batman this year. Just give us some standalone specials, some 1 hour, 1.5 hour fun specials for comic book fans to help get fans kind of reinvigorated. Because right now, with all the drama between the MCU and the DCU, DCEU, Sony, all of them are just so bogged down in drama. They're bogged down in not great feature-length films. So if you just give us some fun stuff to grasp onto and keep us invested in the characters, keep us excited to see characters, and if they're still the same quality that the straight to streaming ones have been, I think, especially next year when both of them have much more empty slates, to say the least, do stuff like that. Even the Batman and Joker, no matter what you feel about the Batman and Joker, have shown, look how successful both of those films were. And they're standalone DC projects. They're not connected into anything else. I know fans continue to theorize and want to bring Joker in, want to bring Batman over to the Joker, blah, 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 blah. No. Like, maybe that's where we need to start looking. Is a lot of these standalone things have been some of the best projects that they've delivered. They've won Oscars. They've won other, awards, been nominated. So I don't know, but that's it. That was my ranking. We saw a little bit of dissension in the chat. Not too much. We just had an Aquaman 2 fan pop his little head up in here, and then Rachel Rachel advocating for the downfall of the Marvels. But to recap, my official ranking of the comic book movies for 2023, number 1, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. At number 2, we had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. And number 3, I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. At number 4, we have Blue Beetle. At number 5, I have The Marvels. At number 6, I have Merry Little Batman. At number 7, I had Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Number 8, The Flash. Number 9, we had Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And down at the bottom, number 10 is right here. We have Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. So if you're watching this on replay, thank you so much. Thanks for getting to the end with me. Make sure to leave your own ranking in the comments down below. Share which comic book movies you think were best or worst. I look forward to seeing all of those. For everybody who stopped in and joined me for this live ranking in the chat, thank you so much. It made for a very fun experience going through a rather rough year of comic book movies. I had a lot of fun sharing my list with everyone, and we'll see what the upcoming year has to offer. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel because I will have a worst films of the year list coming up before the end of the year. That's right, I'm still doing it. Look, I know some people are very much against doing worst of the year lists. I am not one of those people, and I will be doing one, as well as a best of the year list coming up by the end of the year. And coming right around the corner should be my video ranking every animated film I watched from 2023. So you'll see a couple of these films show up on my animation ranking as well. See where they end up. But I appreciate you all so much for your continued support. I love you all. Hope you continue to have a safe and happy holiday. And we will see you on the next one. Bye.